Here, you're ready for your dose of reality. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Doctor Quack podcast. I'm your host, Doctor Quack, and
I'm the important one, Mr. Mayhem.
And I'm the important one, Mr. Mayhem, so you get 2 for 1.
oh boy, look at this. 2 for 1 sale here. You want to tell them what we're doing today?
Well, today, besides picking on cue ball here, we're going to talk about Royal Rumble 89, and we did Royal Rumble 88 last week, and I remember it when I was a kid being better than it turned out being. Mm-hmm. This one I didn't remember being as good, and watching it again for this review, it was actually better than I remember.
It was not bad. I mean,
so we're gonna be checking this one out. This came to us. If you didn't know, this podcast now films in Houston, Texas, and Royal Rumble 89 came from Houston, Texas.
yeah, live at the Summit. I'm telling you, that's going to be awesome there. It was a great show. You had great commentary. You had Gorilla Monsoon and Jesse the Body Ventura.
Probably, with the exception of the King and JR, probably the best commentary team as far as calling matches. The Brain and Gorilla didn't do a lot of matches together, so we can't count them in the match calling category, but they can't be untouched otherwise.
Yeah, it was definitely great. You had Sean Mooney. Oh yeah, good old Sean Mooney. And Mean Gene Okerlund out there doing the interviews.
Yes, and we had some really god-awful production values. I mean, we try to present a professional product here, but the blue screen, you could see it rippling at the top. You could see the blue screen, a nice halo about half an inch around the wrestler. I mean, whoever did this for production value did not do a great job at all.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely needed to work on that. You've seen it better when it came later years.
They even did it better in the previous show than they did this show.
This is true. Yeah, I can't deny that.
Right.
It was a fault on them.
So now that we're in 2021, we've got AC/DC playing here.
That's right.
So take us back in black and tell us how it started.
Oh, yeah. Because we're old school nostalgia here. We had the Hart Foundation teaming up with Jim Duggan, taking on the fabulous Rujo brothers and Dino Bravo with Frenchie Martin and Jimmy Hart ringside.
Yeah, this was a 2 out of 3 fall match, something that seemed to be the milieu of the Royal Rumbles. In 2 years, we're on our 3rd one, and it's only 6 matches.
Right.
And we're already in a third 2 out of 3 fall match. And at this time, the Rujos were trying to be the good old American boys, so they billed themselves being from Memphis, Tennessee. Even though they wore the fleur-de-lis and they still wore
that flag.
They wore the Quebec light blue, powder blue. This match was really, really entertaining. The Hart Foundation did go over on this one. The Rujos won the first fall, and the Hart Foundation team won the next 2 falls. A lot of fun in here. Some good back and forth action.
Yeah, don't forget though, you had 5 out of the 6 wrestlers either trained in Canada or from Canada, and they're chanting a USA chant because of Jim Duggan. I'm loving it.
Well, and Glen Falls, New York is only an hour from Canada, so you can basically count him as being Canadian too.
Yes.
The only thing that I want to talk about is he likes to call Jacques Rougeau's finisher the flying teabag.
The teabag!
Well, there was another fall where Jacques Rougeau was just straight pounding his groin right in the back of, I think it was Duggan.
Yes.
Pounded in the back of his head. I was like, good God, we joke we call him the Mountie, but by God, he mounts everything. He's like a dog in heat.
Mountie gets all the love here on the Doctor Quack podcast.
But I'm going to say this match was a really great match. One of the strongest openers WWE has done in their early pay-per-view career, I gave it 2 3/4 stars.
Yeah, I went 2.5, basically about the same thing there. I felt like it was a really great opener. It set the table for further things.
And then one thing they really did great storytelling was the way they set the 2 out of 3 falls. Bret Hart lost the first fall to Ray Rougeau, and they let him carry almost the entire second fall. They built the heat. They built the comeback. So when Hart finally made his tag out, to Duggan, everybody erupted. Excellent example of storytelling for those of you young wrestlers who are looking to how to tell a story over a long period of time. This match is a great example.
Right, and there wasn't really any major, storyline between maybe Duggan and
Bravo had a little bit of a feud going into this.
Right.
And the Harts and the Rougeaus had a little bit, but not. This was kind of a launching pad for much bigger feuds down the road. So all in all, a really good match.
Yeah. And up next you have the Ladies Championship. One of the few times it was actually defended on a pay-per-view here. Rockin' Robin taking on Judy Martin. And don't forget that, Sherry Martel, one of my favorite heel females, definitely, came out there and challenged the winner of this match. I love that spot.
Yes, well, Sherry Martel had lost the title, or had been the champion and lost the title to Rockin' Robin. And so that was basically, at this time, they didn't do the return clause, you lost the title, it was time to move on. But they decided to give Sherry Martel another run. And again, we like to bring up a lot of the history because we're talking about the old days. We're purists for wrestling. Rocket Robin is Jake Roberts' half-sister. Yeah. So we've covered Jake Roberts, Sam Houston, and Rocket Robin. That's the Smith family right there. For those of you that didn't know, Aurelian Smith or Grizzly Smith was the father for all three of these.
Yeah. I mean, it was overall a great match. Rockin' Robin ended up retaining the title. I thought overall it was just, it helped, like I said, set the table. It made matches further. You were anticipated on seeing them. You were excited.
Exactly. And while this match was a little sloppy, it had some technical issues. Judy Martin was quite a bit older. But it was very fast-paced. It was still a lot of good action, a lot of good things to watch in this match. I did go with 2 stars on this match.
Yeah, I went 2.5. I felt like, like I said, setting the table. I felt like it was a really great match. I love the fact when she was going for the crossbody off the top rope that she ducked properly and then she nailed it. That was
very true, very true. So yes, a lot of good technical, but it was done very sloppy, very fast. At this time, women's old school, new school was going through the same transition as the men's old school, new school. So there was a lot of times you'd have somebody who worked really fast and someone who was a little more methodical. Sometimes they'd have a little slop, but this one, they still told a good, compelling story that was worth watching.
Yeah. And this led to the pose-off between the Ultimate Warrior and Ravishing Rick Rude. Ooh. That's right, had to show the guns. Yeah.
Yeah, those are Popeye arms there.
Compared to them, yes. they were on some serious roids, you could tell. But how'd you like it?
I didn't. Jesse the Body likes to put over Rick Rude, who probably has one of the best chiseled physique bodies in wrestling at this time, as being the winner of the Body Award from Jesse the Body as the best body. And the Ultimate Warrior was stoked up beyond belief. Now, they did a 4 different poses, and it was crowd reaction, which that automatically means that the face is going to win. Face is the good guy again, for those of you that haven't been watching and seen that was the kayfabe word of the day. So, with that being said, I actually went and rated all of them as how I would think they win. The first one, they did what's called a double bicep pose, which Rick Rude basically explained was this. And they were talking about peaks, and the Ultimate Warrior had peaks, and Rick Rude had a nice, smooth, it was very toned, but not a lot of height, not a lot of peaks. So I did give the Warrior the win in the double bicep pose.
Yes.
Now, the second one was the best abs. That's basically just showing off just the 6-pack, or in Rick Rude's case, the 8-pack. I would say he has an 8-pack.
Yeah.
And I did give that one to Rick Rude. That was what he was known for throughout his entire wrestling career, pretty much up until the day he died. He was known for his abdominals. So the
You
Ultimate
definitely
Warrior
have
was no slouch, but Rick Rude was definition, and the Warrior had just a few little edge lines. You couldn't really see the definition, so I did give that one to Rude. The third one was what they called the most muscular, which is basically the Hogan pose that everybody knows.
That's right, brother.
And the Warrior had, with the exception of the pectorials on Rude, the Ultimate Warrior was just bigger, stronger, had more power and more bulges, so I did give that one to the Warrior. And then the montage, which I'm not going to go into those because they each did different parts of it, but I felt the Warrior again because the most muscular had the...
Right, he was definitely built like a freight train.
But other than that, this did, like we said in '88, this is something that didn't belong on this pay-per-view. This was a pay-per-view, not shown on USA Network. It didn't belong here.
Put that on USA Wrestling or Superstars, either one. God, not that. Wrestling Challenge would have been good for that. You know?
Actually, I would have put it. This would have been better on Brother Love, because Brother Love was around about this time.
Yeah.
So, but I only gave it 1.5. It was a big waste of time. The crowd seemed to like it, but it didn't belong here. It was a time filler, which seemed to be a milieu again of the Royal Rumble. They didn't know what to do, so they had to fill time with whatever they could.
Yeah, again, bodybuilding, I don't know why they kept bringing it up. They did it with Dino Bravo the last year. Now they're doing it this year on this one.
Yep.
I'm with you on 1.5 on that. Great match here. Something I totally forgot about, hadn't seen in a while. The Battle of the Kings. King Haku taking on King Harley Race. Bobby Heenan in the corner of Haku, by the way.
Well, they kept putting over that he was in the corner of both of them.
Oh, yeah, he was in the middle, yeah.
Because Harley Race had to take some time off to get a hernia repaired, so he had taken some time away, and they moved the title to the King crown to Haku. And they kept putting over that whoever was going to win, Bobby Heenan was leaving with them. And they actually showed scenes where Bobby Heenan would, come on Haku, come on Race, come on Haku, come on Race. So he was playing both sides of the fence, which is something that he should have done. All in all, the match was a really good back and forth match. You could tell Harley was really pulling out of Haku, who was not known for some of the things he did. And he really pulled something out of it. And Race at this time, he was really getting on in years. I think he retired either the end of this year or beginning of next year.
Yeah, it was very close.
He was pretty much on his way out the door to go manage Vader at WCW. But all in all, the match was decent. I gave it 2 stars.
Yeah, I mean, I felt about the same way. I gave it a 2.5. I felt like it was a great fight. And here you go. Just me, you, and the viewers here. So if you had a shoot fight between these two, shoot meaning a real fight, a legitimate fight between Race and Haku, who would you take?
Remember that. He gives a kayfabe word of the day. He doesn't warn you. He doesn't dress right. He doesn't warn you what's coming. That's why the important one.
Stop avoiding the question here. Go ahead and answer it there, man.
So the answer is I wouldn't want to see it because I get caught up in it.
Oh, God.
But Haku has more brutal stories than Harley Race does as far as things like biting off some guy's nose,
Yes.
biting off an ear, picking a fight with 10 people and they back down. Race is one legitimate tough man, or he was one of the toughest that in wrestling. He basically got the world title because nobody wanted to deal with him because they knew if you pissed him off, he was going to hurt you, a.k.a. Luthez did that a lot.
Yeah.
But I would have to say if I could avoid getting caught up in it and be able to see it, I would think Haku would take it, but it would be, both people would not be happy about it.
Yeah, it'd be a great fight. I'm with you. I would go with Haku on that. So let's move on here to the main event. Yes, this one here had the actual main event be the Royal Rumble.
And it was the first time, now they've moved it up to what's known as, it's 30 men were in this one.
That's right, 30 men. And the first 2 in the Battle Royal, I'm going to read down this list here, but the first 2 were Axe versus Smash. And let me tell you, I was excited as a kid when I saw this live. And I still get excited when I see it just because it's demolition.
And I remember popping as a kid of, oh wow, they actually fought. They went after each other.
Yeah, they legitimately were fighting. Here's the rundown. You had Axe Smash, Andre the Giant, Mr. Perfect, Rugged Ronnie Garvin, Greg the Hammer Valentine, Jake the Snake, Ron Bass, Shawn Michaels, young Shawn Michaels here, Bushwhacker Butch, Honky Tonk Man, Tito Santana, Bad News Brown, Marty Jannetty, the Macho Man, Randy Savage, Arn Anderson, Tully Blanchard, the Brainbusters there, Hulk Hogan, Bushwhacker Luke, Coco Beware, Warlord, Big Boss Man, Akeem, Brutus Beefcake, Red Rooster, Barbarian, Big Match John there, John Studd, Hercules, Rick Martel, and Ted DiBiase. God, that's a lot of names, ain't it?
And 18 Hall of Famers of the 30.
Yeah, this is regarded as one of the top for that. I think there's only one higher, and we'll review that later on down the line.
This match was really, really well done. I think the ending was a little anticlimactic. This was basically Big John Studd was the winner. And I think this was done more for Vince trying to lull Big John Studd into staying around. John Studd had to take a year to a year and a half off because of nagging injuries. He came back without Bobby Heenan, so he was actually a babyface in this. And it didn't work. 4 to 5 months later, he was gone from WWF. Contract disputes. He felt Vince owed him money, felt Vince was not treating him right. He moved on. And then a year later, he retired, and he died about 4 years after that. So...
My two-finger salute, by the way, it would easy one be to go to Virgil, but it is not because he's a manager. No, the two-finger salute in this one, right here, it goes to the Warlord. How are you going to pose and then walk in the ring and then get clotheslined less than a second from entering the Royal Rumble?
Hogan needed a win because I'm going to say that my is the next pay-per-view for Hogan. The way he decided to win, but on this one here, he went out nicely. He got put out by the Akeem and
the Boss Man, yes,
and he didn't struggle with it. Well, he did do other things, like, you know what? I'm going to change my mind. I'm going to give it to Hogan for this one too, because Hogan was the first person to come down and pull somebody out after he was eliminated. Yes, Jake the Snake Roberts came down, but he didn't do anything. He just threw the snake in the ring. Hogan actually pulled the Boss Man out of the ring. So, Hogan, you smell because you started a trend of pulling people out after you've been eliminated. You couldn't go out gracefully.
Yeah, that snake got thrown in the ring. Andre jumped over the top. But the winner of this one, Big Match John. No, not John Cena. Big John Studd.
And I liked the storyline that they had with Ted DiBiase of he didn't like his number, so he went and found somebody and traded his number, sold his number, whatever, which led to something that happened next year, which we're going to get into next year. Sorry, spoiler, folks. You know,
right.
we work
right
in
there.
we work in threes, so that one's coming up next. But all in all, this match was really, really good. Andre eliminating people in the beginning, perfect in there being his just perfect self. And we're going to give it up to Akeem, a.k.a. the one-man gang. He's the first person to be in the Final Four 2 years in a row, and I think he's still the only one.
Yes.
And as I alluded to in the last show, Big John Studd is the other one in his first ever Royal Rumble, won the match.
Somebody not named Hogan. That's a first.
Well, because Hogan went out in this one. Shawn Michaels went out on this one. So they won later, and they can't claim to won on their first try. So, but all in all, this was a really, really, really good pay-per-view. And I gave the Rumble 3 stars.
Yeah, that's exactly where I'm at. 3 stars on that. I felt like this was above average. The whole show, it set itself up very nicely. It kept me entertained. I didn't have to go, all right, let me look at my phone while this is going on because this kind of sucks. Because every match on there felt like, okay, I want to watch.
Yep. And I really enjoyed it as well.
I'd like to thank you all for tuning in. If you can, like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Thank you to everybody who's been doing it.
And tell him he needs to start dressing better. This guy needs to start dressing better. See, prime example, I've even got a figure that looks right.
You got to look for AC/DC and all the other rock bands I wear. That's right. I'm your host, Doctor Quack.
And I'm the important one, Mr. Mayhem, telling you all 2021 has already been better.
Yep, and get ready for the 128-man tournament to crown the uncrowned champion. And I'm out.